Ever feel like you're stuck debugging for hours and hours and you wish you just had like an extra brain to help you out? Just to like untangle the problem. That's kind of what we're diving into today. AI coding assistants.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you sent over some really interesting stuff about V0 Cursor AI Replit.
Yeah.
A whole bunch more.
It's really interesting to see how all these different tools are kind of like moving beyond just, auto-completing your code.
Yeah.
They're becoming more like actual coding partners, I think.
Yeah.
Who can actually like understand the context of what you're trying to build.
Yeah, that's what really stood out to me too, especially with this whole multi-file comprehension thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like V0 is leading the charge there.
Yeah.
But before we get too far, can you break down like exactly what that means?
Yeah. So imagine like you're building an e-commerce site. Okay.
Right.
You got different files for like your product displays, your payment processing, user accounts, all that stuff.
Right. The whole 9 yards.
V0 is designed to actually understand how all those different pieces fit together.
Okay. So it's not just looking at the code that I'm writing in that one file.
Exactly.
It's looking at my whole project.
It's looking at everything.
Wow.
And that means that it can generate much more sophisticated code. So let's say you want to add like a new product category to your e-commerce site. V0 can help you not only create the code for that new page, but it also understands how that change might impact like your database structure.
Oh, wow.
Your payment gateway integration, even just like your navigation menu.
Wow.
And it can make suggestions and updates to all those different pieces to make sure everything stays consistent.
So it's like having a senior developer looking over your shoulder.
Exactly.
Being like, hey.
Don't forget this.
Yeah, you gotta update this other thing. You forgot about that.
It's a really powerful way to think about it.
Especially as a solo developer.
Yeah.
Where you don't have that second set of eyes.
Exactly.
That's really cool. The article you sent also mentioned Cursor AI.
Yeah.
And they're positioning themselves as more of a code cleanup and learning tool.
Cursor is interesting because it focuses on improving the quality of your code, while it's also teaching you about better coding practices.
Okay.
So let's say you've written a function, and it's a little bit messy or inefficient.
Right.
Cursor can come in and not only refactor that code for you, but it can also explain why its solution is better. So it might point out potential pitfalls in your original code highlight industry best practices.
So it's like a built-in code reviewer that also gives you personalized feedback.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Especially for someone who's learning or wants to level up their coding skills. That's got to be so valuable.
Yeah. It can save a lot of time and frustration.
Yeah, for sure. Now, shifting gears a bit, we have to talk about Replit.
Okay.
This one seems like more than just an AI assistant, right?
Yeah. You're right. Replit is a fully fledged development platform. Yeah. What's exciting is that they're really starting to integrate AI capabilities directly into that existing environment.
Okay.
So you have this cloud-based IDE where you can write code, you can collaborate with others in real time.
Right.
And now you're starting to see AI assistants built right in.
Wow. So it's all in one place. That sounds incredibly powerful, especially for like teamwork or learning.
Yeah.
It's like having a shared coding playground almost.
You do.
Where everyone can kind of experiment and get instant feedback. What are some of the specific benefits of that you don't get with just like a standalone AI assistant?
Well, so imagine that you're working on a project with a remote team.
Okay.
And maybe they're scattered across different time zones. With Replit, you can all be coding in the same environment. Mm-hmm. You're seeing each other's changes in real time.
Wow.
And you can even get AI suggestions that the whole team can benefit from.
Okay, so it's really fostering that team environment, even though you're not in person.
Exactly.
That's really cool. And then you mentioned education, too. That's a whole other, like,
huge
application for where it seems like it could be a game changer.
Yeah, you can think about teachers being able to create these interactive coding lessons where students can all collaborate together. Mm-hmm. They can learn from each other. They can get that real-time feedback from the AI, from their peers. It really transforms that learning experience from just something that's passive to something that's really active and engaging.
So it's way more hands-on and engaging.
Absolutely.
It seems like there's an AI coding assistant for like every need and skill level these days.
It seems like it.
The article mentioned GitHub Copilot Tab 9. There's even one from Amazon now. Mm-hmm. It's incredible how quickly this space is growing.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to how transformative these tools are becoming.
Okay.
But as with any new technology, I think it's important to approach it with, equal parts enthusiasm, but also a little bit of caution.
What do you mean by that? What kind of things should we be cautious about?
I think one potential pitfall is becoming overly reliant on these tools.
Okay.
It's really tempting to think of them as magic solutions that are just going to write perfect code for us.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they're still just tools.
Yeah.
And they need human guidance.
To be used effectively.
To be used effectively.
Exactly.
It's like blindly trusting your GPS, right?
Exactly.
You might end up driving into a lake.
You have to bring your own critical thinking skills to the table. You need to understand the code that's being generated. You need to be able to spot any potential issues.
Right.
And just make sure that it aligns with what you're trying to build.
So it's about finding that balance between leveraging the power of the AI,
Yeah.
but also maintaining your own coding expertise.
It's not about humans versus AI. It's about figuring out how they work together.
It's about the collaboration.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really interesting.
So if AI coding is all about collaboration, what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, I think we're moving towards a much more conversational style of coding.
Conversational coding?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
So instead of, writing line by line instructions, imagine being able to just describe what you want to achieve in plain English.
Yeah.
And the AI assistant can actually interpret that intent and generate the code for you.
Hold on. So I could say something like, create a function that validates email addresses.
Right.
And it would just do it.
Yeah, that's the idea. And as you're reviewing that generated code, you can actually have this back and forth with the AI. You can refine the logic. You can optimize for performance. You might even experiment with different approaches.
Okay.
It becomes much more of a dialogue than just this one-way street.
That's really cool. It almost sounds like pair programming, but with like a really, really smart computer.
In a way, it is.
Wow.
And as these AI assistants, continue to get better at understanding natural language, understanding coding conventions, I think this conversational style of coding could become the norm.
That would be a huge shift. And it makes coding more accessible, too.
Right. Absolutely.
You wouldn't necessarily need to be like a syntax whiz to actually build something.
Exactly. It opens up the world of software development to so many more people.
Right.
And that means you get more diversity, more innovation.
It's like the early days of personal computers all over again.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Because it really speaks to that broader potential of, what these AI coding assistants can do.
Yeah.
It's not about automating away, all the work of coding. It's about how do we empower more people to bring their ideas to life through software. Now,
that's a future worth getting excited about. As we wrap things up, any final thoughts for our listeners who are maybe ready to dive into this whole new world of AI-assisted coding?
I would say embrace the experimentation.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to try out different tools, see what works best for you, and just remember that this technology is constantly evolving. What might seem mind-blowing today might be completely commonplace tomorrow.
So stay curious, stay adaptable, and who knows what amazing things you'll create. Thanks for diving deep with us today.